All right, thank you for your silence. How many of the B's you got your request answered? They're willing to do it. Okay, a larger group this time. Awesome. So practice the idea of asking for what you need, what you want. Would you be willing to do that for me? And see what that does to speed up your connections with people. All right, so if you look at number 2.
Number 2 is, Number 2 is when you don't know or you're not sure of your needs and wants, then you're going to say, when I, and then whatever that is, I feel. So to give you an example at the bottom, when I hear you make excuses, I feel you're not being honest with me. And so when I see you, another one for me is when I see you come through the door and you hug me and when I'm cooking and you wrap your arms around me, then I feel cherished.
Oh, baby.
Oh, baby.
Sounds good to me.
Oh, baby.
And here's one, you'll like this. When I come in the door, I appreciate that you let me put down my stuff before we interact. And I feel more connected to you when I have just a little time to get everything put away, and then we can talk.
That sounds great.
All right. So practice that one on your own. Let's go to number 3. So number 3 is I need, want, more of, and less of. This is a biggie. More of you know what you want less of, right? In the beginning, everything was wonderful. They did everything. They're just the perfect spouse. And then you're with them for a while and you start to see the habits you do and don't like. And then you start giving them the eye. And then you give them the words. And then you give them the shoulder. And then disaster happens. So how do you fix that one? So, number 3, I need, want, more of, and less of. So here's an example. I need more of you letting me know what is going on with you and less of you hiding your true thoughts and feelings. Would you be willing to do that for me?
Yes.
Awesome. So those are some tools that you can use. And now I want to be able to do what I'm known for. This is what I'm known for right now. And that is to take a practical example and give you a chance to experience it. Oh, so now what do you want me to do now?
You were going to wait until we finish the
We're going to wait that section. All right, so we had to get clear on what we're doing now. Experience with practice. All right, so we're moving on.
We're moving on.
We're moving on. All right, so go to page 3. So you want to communicate so people feel heard, respected, and valued. Do you feel heard, respected, and valued? You might say some of the time, not as much. Let's figure out how you can get more of it.
So number 1, what you want to do is acknowledge with a word, or I see. So instead of ignoring or giving your opinion or interrupting or criticizing people as they are sharing their feelings, you want to acknowledge with a word, or I see. So you're going to let them talk through everything they want to say. Because when you're criticizing, men hear criticism as contempt. And then women feel the silence as hostility. So women need to feel cherished and loved, and they need to feel that first, and that they are first in their relationship with their husband. That's crucial to them. So wives' negative criticism can overwhelm a man and make him feel very vulnerable and disrespected. When he feels this way, men will stonewall. They'll withdraw, or they'll push her away. And then he won't see this as unloving at all. He'll just see it as he's self-protecting. He's calming himself down. There's probably epinephrine going on in him, so he's calming himself down, and he thinks that he's really being honorable and respectful instead of saying something very hurtful to her. So, but his wife will see it as completely unloving and think that she's being rejected.
So, All of a sudden, I say, oh no, I was supposed to have a meeting with my boss on a project and I totally forgot. I thought I had till Friday to do it, and now I remember I was supposed to turn it in to him today. This was really, really important. He may think I can't do the job.
Well, that's what happens when you don't plan. You're always not planning. How could you possibly forget something as important as that? You're such an idiot. So criticizing your husband's behavior, dismissing his worry, and telling him what to do, it invalidates him and it makes him feel incompetent. And so when she's doing that, she's actually really in fear. She thinks that she's helping him by focusing on what he's doing wrong. And we all tend to do that. We look at what's wrong and then point that out, thinking that we're helping the other person by showing them what's wrong. And in reality, the opposite is really true. The negative energy was going to shut down her husband. It'll shut down his brain completely. And so where he really needs to come up with a creative solution, and they both want that, it's important to both of them, but she'll shut it down. So another way of doing it would be?
So now I'm going to just say it again. Oh no, I was supposed to have a meeting with my boss on a project today and I totally forgot. This was really, really important. He may think I'm just not doing my job.
I see. So then what happens is the wife's empathetic responses will help him feel understood. And if he feels understood, then he can focus on what he needs to do without tearing him down, so it will not interfere with the connectedness or the relationship.
Have any of you had anybody that you've met who has diarrhea of the mouth? They talk. How do you get them to not talk as much? Here's a tool. And that tool is very simply, if you do what Linda just talked about, where you use the, I see it, okay, I understand. That way they feel heard and they don't have that same need to keep going on and on and on. Try it, see if it works for you. Go to the next page, page 4.
This is where we're going to give
Number 2, give the feeling a name.
Give the feeling a name. So instead of denying how people feel, you want to acknowledge what they're feeling. And so sometimes people are afraid of that because they think that that will make the feeling go deeper or that it'll keep them in the feeling. And again, the opposite is true. So for the example here is, my Shakespeare just died last night. Oh, well, it was only a dog and it had medical problems costing you hundreds of dollars anyway. You're going to be better off. But a more loving response might be, wow, what a shock. It hurts to lose a friend. You really cared about her.
Number 3 is to give in fantasy what you can't give in reality. Any of you like to live in fantasy land? Everybody does. Everybody wants to have something exciting happen. And so consider this. Instead of an explanation, give in fantasy what you can't give in reality. So an example of that is, I really want a new car, he might say. Mine is so old and doesn't really look very good anymore. All my friends are getting a new car. It's embarrassing what I'm driving it around in right now. So the example could be, I hear how much you want a new car. I wish I had $1 million. I wish I could give it to you in just a snap of my fingers. If I had the power, I would get you a brand new Rolls Royce and have it appear right now. If you don't want a Rolls Royce, maybe you want a Lexus. Maybe you want a Ferrari. Maybe you want a Maserati. Maybe you want a Volkswagen Beetle. Whatever it would be that you know that they would love, focus on meeting that fantasy that they would have.
So number 4, listen with full attention. So instead of half listening, or walking around, stop, turn, look them in the eyes, and focus on what they're saying, because this will make them feel that they're heard, which is really important. Everybody needs to feel heard and understood. So just that simple thing will make a huge difference.
So a tool that we like to do with each other is this. When we're not giving each other the attention, that means, hey, babe, let's give each other eye contact. Let's be present to the moment and each person in the moment. Number 5, describe what you see. Instead of blaming, punishing, commanding, nagging, describe what you see. So an example of this is, I see all the clothes on the floor and a light on in the bathroom. Watch what happens when you try that.
This works for your children as well. So instead of pointing out what they're doing wrong, try just saying it with a word, or write a note. Number 6 is write a note. So consider writing a note and putting it on the mirror in the bathroom in this particular example. I see a bathroom that needs picking up. Signed, your towels, with a smiley face. And you'll be surprised how this works with your kids, and it can also work with husbands and wives.
Now, I know, how many of you like Post-it notes? You love to use Post-it notes. There you go. It doesn't mean using a lot of them. More might be less. So less is more.
My wife would say, if you have time to write a note, you need to pick up with that.
There you go. She wants the notes. All right, so how do you get this cooperation? Does anybody need more cooperation in their home, in their work, in their... Nobody? I'll ask again. How many of you need more cooperation in your homes? Well, let's check this out. First of all, you want to give information simply and respectfully. You know, if you use too many words, they just don't get it. So people are more likely to take responsibility for what needs to be done when they have information instead of threats or orders. An example, you're not wearing that shirt again.
A more loving response might be, that shirt has a stain on it, and so it would really be better if you chose another one.
Thank you, darling, for bringing that to my attention. I will change it now.
Great.
Number 2 is give a choice. We have a better chance of gaining cooperation if we can substitute a choice that meets our needs and the other person's needs. Would you like to do A or B? This works great with children, by the way. So an example of this is, we're going out to a very nice place for dinner tonight where people dress up a little more. Can you change your shirt, or could you put a jacket over the one you have? I'm not, and that person says, I'm not changing, where's my jacket? Meaning, they're willing to take on that suggestion.
So number 3, say it with a word. Instead of nagging and looking at what's wrong, just say it with a word. So our example is, I can't believe you're about to walk out without your wallet one more time. You are so irresponsible. It makes me so angry that I have to constantly look out for you like a little child. I tell you what to do, but you won't listen.
Ouch.
So a more loving response would be, wallet.
Now, there's a tone of voice to wallet. You know, wallet, 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 wallet. All right, go to our next page with us, page 6. So what are 6 steps for an apology? Now you know you're in the doghouse. You know you made a mistake. It's time to correct for error. How do you do this in an appropriate way that creates more love and connection?
So if you need to go to someone because you had not treated them in the right way, what would you say is the appropriate thing to do? Today, often, we have reduced an apology to a quick sorry, tossed over our shoulder as we walk out of the room, or a mumbled, sorry about that, or I'm sorry you feel that way, putting the responsibility for any hurt feelings on them rather than taking responsibility for what you did or said. So what is the appropriate apology? There is a way to apologize that could really lead, or is there a way to apologize that could really lead to a change in behavior and really save or grow our relationships? And this 6-step apology is one that works every time. This is by Ford Taylor.
So here's step 1. You want to state the offense. Say back to them whatever they say you did or said. State that back to them and say,
you're right, I did do that.
You know, for some people, that's hard for them to simply do that because pride, ego, or they've been embarrassed, or when they have in the past tried to apologize, somebody didn't treat them well, and so therefore it's hard for them to just simply do an apology. Step 2, use these 3 simple words.
I was wrong.
That's admitting that you were wrong to say or do whatever you did. And it's powerful when they hear those words come out of your mouth. Have you ever met somebody who never apologizes? Who always thinks they're correct? Well, first of all, you know no one is ever anything. And if you think you're that great, I'm suggesting to you, you may want to reconsider. There's some more growth that you could have take place.
So
Was that nicely said or what?
So you say, I'm sorry I did that, or I regret. And it's important that you actually state what it is that you did so that everybody's clear on what it is that you did.
So at the bottom of there, a key phrase, highlight that if you would, make the relationship more important than the issue or thing. Most people are triggered by all kinds of things and they forget that the relationship's more important. Go back to those goosebump feelings that you had that first brought you together in the first place. Realize you got to give grace to people. And remember to make that relationship more important than the event, the things, or whatever topic you're discussing. Go on with us now to page 7. What are the 6 steps to apologizing? Continue. Step 4. So ask them to forgive you. Ask them to forgive you. Ask them, will you forgive me? Use those words. Or, when you can, will you forgive me? Because sometimes it might be still so painful or sensitive, they're not ready to do that yet. And now, it doesn't matter what their answer is. They don't have to say yes or no, but it's important that you ask. Step 5, ask for accountability. Tell that person, the one you hurt, I give you permission to hold me accountable not to behave this way anymore. I've got news for you. When we say enough times, I'm wrong, I'm sorry, or will you forgive me, and we're held accountable, our behavior changes. Remember, we're not making the person accountable to hold us accountable. We're giving them permission to hold us accountable, and those are very different. It's vital that, some people, if you give them that accountability, then they have to hold it over your head, and then they find every time you're not doing it right, again, go back to giving grace. Step 6.
So now you're going to ask if there's anything else. And this is an important thing because now what you're saying is you're totally open. And you're open to be corrected. You're open to moving and being able to do better than you did before. So you ask if there's anything else. Is there anything else I've done in our relationship that I need to apologize for? And what that does is if there's something that maybe I don't even know about it, but there's something that didn't sit with him, then it takes it out of him and all of it's gone instantaneously. So is there anything that I have in my relationship with you that I did not apologize for?
Not that I can think of. I think we've been working on that.
Thank you.
And it's nice to be able to say that to you because we really have worked on that.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. So, let's see. So I lost my place. Okay. Oh, and when you do this, you're going to blow somebody away. Especially, even if it's not yours, you're going to blow them away. And that's awesome because now, if you decide to do that and remember it, because of the way the brain works in some people and the way that causes them to think, they might remember everything that you've ever done.
Oh boy.
Since the 2nd grade. So be prepared so that you can stay open and calm and safe for them to tell you what that is.
And you might want to say, could we just pick the one thing and not all the other things you want to connect? Because you took this moment to talk about it doesn't mean you have to cover it all. Pick one, get success on that, and see what happens.
So, and also it's important not to judge the other person because this is just the way some brains work. Although you might not remember what you did yesterday or even last week because of the way your brain works, just know that if you ask that 6th question, you're going to need to be ready for the answer so that you don't respond negatively or defensively, and instead just write down whatever they say. So this is actually our rule number 2 that we had, which is apologize and admit when we're wrong. Because even if we're only partially wrong, or even if we don't think that we're wrong, so no matter what, You take responsibility for yourself, not the other person. Because when you become frustrated or harsh and you ask forgiveness, it just takes all of the unfinished business out. And don't wait for the other person to do it. I think oftentimes we, think, well, we were right, so they need to come and apologize to us. But don't wait. It's important that you're the most mature one. Try to beat the other person.
But don't say, I'm the mature one, and so you'd better get with the program here. I'm smarter than you. No, doesn't go over too well.
Not a good plan. But you don't forgive others for their sakes. You literally forgive others for your own sake. And this one rule will create more joy in each other and your marriage if you get rid of it quickly and apologize quickly. And it will not allow the enemy to come in and have an offense later on. Because if you don't do this and then you go do something else or you go to bed, then the enemy can work on you. Well, maybe he meant this, maybe he meant that. So you don't want that to happen. The other important thing is to remember that when a woman says she's sorry, to her it's an increase in love. But when a man says he's sorry, he is fearing that he's going to lose respect. So women, when your husbands come to you and they do apologize, just remember that that was difficult for them because they're concerned that they're going to lose your respect. When reality, just the opposite is true. It can actually hurt. It can heal hurt in a situation. And forgiveness and love can heal a whole incident and then just take us out of all the junk and negativity that keeps you from joining together and creating that intimacy. This is where the real intimacy is formed. So it keeps a clean slate. There are no underlying negative thoughts, no thoughts to continue over and over again in your mind. So this is where trust and intimacy is the most important thing. So remember to ask for forgiveness quickly.
One of the things that we work on is clearing up unfinished business as quickly as we can. And no matter how great your relationship is, there's always unfinished business that takes place. So we will literally say, are you done yet? Are you complete yet? Is there any unfinished business? And sometimes we might have to go 2 or 3 times to get through that because there's a lot of things that happen in a day. So at the bottom of your page there, on page 7, the action step, who are some people that you need to apologize to and forgive? Who do you have unfinished business with? So think about, first of all, who do you have unfinished business with the Lord? Some people are angry and upset with the Lord because he did or didn't do whatever they wanted done when they wanted it done. Maybe they lost a loved one who they thought needed to live longer. Who's some unforgiveness that you need to give for yourself? Maybe you have some unforgiveness issue that you're dealing with in yourself. So what I'd like you to do right now at the bottom of the page is just write down some names of some people that come to your mind that you have unfinished business with. Now, if they come to your mind, that's a clue. That's it. Now, people say, well, I thought I dealt with that already with that person. How do I know if it's really resolved? Well, here's how you know. I call it the truth meter. And that is, if it bubbles up inside of you and that name or situation comes back to you again, it's still unfinished business. Just write their name down. So I want you to get 2 or 3 people right now that you know you've got unfinished business with. It could be a spouse, it could be a child, it could be a relative, it could be a brother and sister, it could be parents. So just take a moment and write down their name, and then right next to their name what that unforgiveness issue is. Now, the reason we want you to do this, and for those of you who are watching live stream or replay, is because if you don't actively do this, it's easy to just have all this stuff in your head. We all have unforgiveness issues. The question is, with whom and what situation? And you know what? It's those little baby things that eventually build up to a place that it seems so hard for you to be able to let go of. So now that you've made that list, I'd like you to go to those people and apply these 6 steps that we've just given to you and do it within the next 48 hours. It could be done by phone, Zoom, face-to-face is ideally the best. And by the way, texting is the most wimpy way to do things. Here is another McGraneism. Never text about emotional topics. It's too easy to misinterpret what those words are. It's better to do it face to face, Zoom, or over the phone as a last preference. So now that you've experienced this and you're writing these ideas down, I'd like to ask a couple who would be willing to come up here and let us show you how to use this to actually get some healing happening right now. So who is courageous enough that they would like to come up here and give us a chance? Come on up here. Is that both of you? Let's give them a round of applause. Here, honey. Give me that. I'll take care. All right. Rachel. Hi. And Kevin. Good to see you. Come on over this way. So, who's the troublemaker? Oh, boy. All right. So, I'd better get in between them now. All right. Can you come a little closer? All right. We don't bite here. And then stand here so that they can see you there and they can see you over there and all those people there. All right. So, Rachel, what's the issue?
What's the issue?
I ain't answering that question.
Oh, boy. Trouble already. All right, so who's the one who said they need to come up here?
No.
Rachel.
I was just volunteering. Let me think of an issue.
What's the need that you have that hasn't been met with him?
So we have 5 kids. So it's
God
more
bless you,
like,
first of all.
trying to make time for each other, like communicating, eye contact, those kinds of things.
So you want him to be more present to you and the moment?
Yes.
And each of the children too?
Yes.
But you primarily? Because
Sometimes.
sometimes. Isn't that the issue, that when we have our children, we get so preoccupied with their lives that we lost what brought us together in the first place? So here's a clue for you. Is number one, if you're writing these things down, how do you prioritize life? Well, number one, it's God. Number 2, it's you. Number 3, it's your spouse. Number 3, it's your children. Number 4 is friends and family, and then everything else. But what people do, and oftentimes what they do is they put God first, they put their children second, and they miss what created the relationship. So in this case, you want him to be more present to you and some undivided attention to you. Mm-hmm. All right. So let's just do what I need from you, what I want from you. Would you be willing to do that with me? You ready?
Okay.
Now look at him. Oh,
Okay.
In fact, come on a little closer.
Okay. What I need from you is more like intimate conversations and alone time. And that's what I want from you also.
Would you be willing?
Would you be willing to do that?
Happy wife, happy life. Yes, I would be willing to do that.
Earlier we had this conversation and he said, if we had the resources to do that and a nanny, I would be happy to do that.
And then I said, babe, I would love to give you a nanny. If I had $1 million, I would buy you a nanny.
And she wouldn't cost that much to get a nanny.
So we're working out the details.
Yes. So do you get what she's really asking from you?
Oh, absolutely.
And you're willing to do that?
Yes, I am.
So now, so that worked. Great. You got success there. Then
Can I ask a question? Do you know how to do it so that she feels it?
Sure.
You do.
Yeah.
So how come you?
Explain?
So if you know how to do it and you're not doing it, is there a reason that you're not?
Changing a lot of diapers and giving baths and homework and a lot. So I think we got to flip the God, kids, wife, and to God, wife, kids.
yes.
There you go.
Well, it's God, you, then spouse. And many times people put their spouse above themselves, and guess what happens when you do that? It doesn't go well. Now, there was a key phrase. Did you hear a key word that she used at the beginning of what she said? Some pretty sensuous language. Did you hear that?
Need.
Well, it was a need. No, I think you used the word
Intimate conversation.
Oh, intimate conversation. So now that's a juicy question, right? So now you'd say something like this. Kevin, try this. What do you mean by
Intimate conversations?
Tell me about your feelings. Tell me what happened at work. Tell me about your day.
What kind of work do you do, Kevin?
I'm a special education teacher.
Okay, so the last thing you probably want to do when you get home is talk.
Yes.
Because you've been doing that all day.
All day with elementary age.
All right, so his need is to do less talking. Her need is to have more intimate, connecting conversation. So here's where you have to spend a little time of give and take. So it's finding a way to give her what she needs and still meet your need.
I got you.
You like that?
Yeah.
So you want to try that right now?
Absolutely. So, sweetheart, when I get home from work, I need just 30 minutes to
Hold this up here. I'll hold it.
decompress. And then I will make myself available to the one that I love most dearly to have intimate conversation.
Would you be willing to do that?
Would you be willing to do that?
Awesome. So see how simple it is. And it's very easy to get caught up with the other distracting things. But the other thing that you can do, because sometimes it's difficult to know what you need or want, or you can kind of sense there's something brewing in her. And so you'd say,
Sometimes.
she's easy to read, isn't she? And so what you could say is, hey, honey, I get the feeling there's more in you that you'd like to share, because I already know I'm not married to Rachel, but I can tell you she's kind of like my wife. You'd better give her some meaty scoop every day, something deep inside of you. So when you're driving home, you know your little honey's going to want some intimate conversation. So you'd be thinking, what could I do to give her a gift? Remember, we're talking about 3 gifts tonight. What is the gift that I could give to her in such a way that she will feel fed and my need is also met as well? And when you practice that, then watch what happens. Okay? Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you. And you see what happens is that joy takes place again. That spark of love, that goosey feeling happens again. And every day you want to figure out how can you give that to your spouse, and how can they give it to you, and how can you learn to give it to yourself. It's okay to have your needs met every day, because if you don't, it's harder for you to give the needs to your spouse. So go with us now to page 8. We're going to get into gift number 2. This is a powerful gift.
So release value judging with preferences, evaluations, and observations. So do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Matthew 7.
So if you look at the gift 2, page 8, what are the ways that we judge? This is the killer of your self-esteem, the killer of relationships, the killers of families, is judging. And when you get a hold of this and you release judging and replace it with making observations and preferences, you're going to find yourself in more alignment with the Lord wanted you to be, and your relationships are going to be more in alignment.
So judging is the act or process of the mind comparing something or someone to discover if there's agreement or disagreement with what you hold as so. It is you judging values, right, wrong, good, bad, moral and immoral, better, worse. It is labeling. It is measuring. So husbands and wives, as you, I'm sure already have figured out, they feel differently about things. They see differently about things. Men are different than women. And so they can communicate in code, so to speak. And so the goal is trying to figure out what the code is. And so for men, they feel disrespected in ways when they feel that their wives have been unloving. And then women get frustrated, and when you see anger or irritation, the best thing to do is to figure out, the wife needs love and the man needs respect. And so oftentimes we don't do that. We don't understand that. Women don't understand that men need respect, and men don't understand that women need love or to feel like they have love. And so when there's anger or frustration, figuring out the code is pretty simple. Just ask yourself, Does she need love or does he need respect? Is there something I did or said that wasn't, that felt disrespectful to them, or something I did or said that felt unloving?
And while you're on that subject, you know, we as men don't do things that cause women to not want to respect us. So the idea is to look at your own behavior and say, am I behaving in a way that my wife is willing to respect me? And if the answer is no, replace it with what will. If you have the courage, men, I would suggest that you ask your spouse this question. How could I make it easier for you to respect me more? Listen, get your ears ready, because they probably have a couple ideas for you. And then ladies, you will want to do the same thing. And men, you want to find out the question of how can I be more loving and give you more love? And see what happens when you get that question answered too.
So 95%, that's a fill-in on your page there. 95% of value judging is done on a non-conscious basis. We don't even know that we're doing it. We don't know we're value judging. However, the other person feels it, and you can feel it too.
So here's an example of this. I want you to recall a time, possibly the first time ever in your life, that you felt judged, compared, criticized. And probably that happened to you as a child, either from your parents, could have been with a friend, it could have been a brother or sister, could have been a neighbor, could have been a teacher. And remember what that feeling was like. You might have felt a tightness in your stomach. Maybe you felt a hardness take place in your body. Maybe you felt yourself pulling away and distrusting everyone. And maybe you've never gotten over it to this day. Well, we want to help you clear that judgment that you've experienced in your life, of every area of your life, tonight, so that you're no longer living a cycle of being judged. God did not judge you. God does judge us, but people are not to be the ones judging. What do we replace that with? So how do you know when you are judged or judging? You know it because you feel heavy, not light. You know by your behavior. You know the way you label yourself or other people. Look at that jerk, dummy, stupid, weirdo. All those labeling languages. You become impatient. Check that out when you're driving, when you don't like the way somebody else was driving. How about you numb out? You get to the point you can't even feel it anymore because it's just the way it naturally is most of the time. And F, observe the language that you use. That's a clue that you're being judgmental. And G is fear is more present than love. Say that again. Fear is more present than love. And H, I'm no longer receptive to learning. In other words, your flapper is closed and you're no longer receptive to hearing any new ideas. You have had it, you're fed up, and the goal is to get that loosened up so that you can get back to keeping your flapper open. So in A, we want you now to write down in each of these areas ideas that come to you about the ways that you judge yourself. So what are the ways that you judge yourself? You're too small, too tall, whatever that might be.
So one of the ways that men and women judge each other is something that is a typical man-woman relationship. The woman is going to want more involvement, which we already saw with Rachel. We want more involvement, and the men want more space. So this is an area where it's very easy to judge each other, and it isn't about that. It's just we have different needs. And so if the wife doesn't give the husband the space that he feels that he needs, then he may begin to feel that she's trying to take his space away. And that's not true at all. This is where we judge. And so it doesn't feel respectful to him either. But she is actually doing that to feel a connection. She's desperate for connection. And if he is trying to go away and have space, it makes her feel unloved. Even if it's true or not true, she will feel that. She'll feel the disconnection. And you are the head. Husbands, you are the head. A wife has to feel constant connection to that head. Otherwise, she feels lost. And so when this happens, when men need more space and women need more connection, just realize that that's a place that you're judging.
So as an example of that, football season's here, right? A lot of guys like to veg out with sports, entertainment, other activities outside of the home. And they get busy doing those kinds of things as their way of chilling out, which is an okay thing to do. The challenge is when it's most of the time, that's creating the disconnection. And so you want to find that happy balance between getting your own needs met and meeting the needs of your spouse. So what are the ways that you judge yourself? Just write those down, if you will. Example, I don't have what it takes to do that. They won't be interested. It hasn't worked for me before. It can't work now. They know me more than I do. They probably don't like me.
So, C.
No, B. I just read A.
Well, okay. Examples, boy, are they stupid. The way we judge others, or boy, are they stupid. What a jerk. When will they ever learn? This is a dumb driver. My parents never really loved me. My spouse will never understand. My child will never get it. Look at this stupid person. I'm better than they are.
So in B, we'd like you to write down what are the ways that you judge other people. Just take a moment. What comes to your mind? And if nothing's coming to your mind right now, understand that this is so embedded. Remember, 95% of value judgments are done on a non-conscious basis. You don't know it, but you feel it. And so what we're wanting to do is to have you become more conscious of it so that you'll realize that most of the time you are judging in ways that's killing yourself and killing your relationships with others, and it really is killing your relationship with the Lord.
So C, ways that I judge things, events, and life circumstances. Again, this is a great place for men and women to judge each other, because sometimes when women are nagging, and they will confront, and then they're actually confronting to connect with you. They're not confronting just to confront. And then when they do confront, though, men think they want control, which is definitely not the case. But women have to have resolution. And so if they haven't gotten resolution, they will confront. But this resolution will give them a sense of connection and deep-seated emotional needs. As Rachel was saying, she wants intimate conversation. They're deep-seated emotional needs that need to be taken seriously, because a woman's mind, body, and soul are all together. They're all connected. And her entire system reacts to feelings of hurt. And she can't go on until she gets resolution. So stick with her and give her resolution. As soon as you give her resolution, she will do whatever it is that you want. But you can tell it in her eyes. You can tell it in her face. Her very soul will tell you.
So what are the ways that you judge things, events, and life circumstances? And then D is judgments I make about events or things that did or did not happen. Some examples is, because my dad did not tell me he loved me, he didn't love me. My boss never told me he really thought I could do the job. Well, I just assumed you did not want to invite me if you just weren't invited. So you assume the wrong thing. And so when you make assumptions, you know what happens. You're making an ass out of what? You and me. So now make a list of what are the ways that you are judging events or things that did or did not happen in your life. Just as an example, when I was a little boy, my family took a vacation and I wanted for my July 5th birthday a scooter. And we were out in the middle of Arizona, staying at a campground. And my parents wanted to go out and do something for the day. And I said to them, being so nice, I will just stay at the campground all day, so that, thinking in my mind, they could find this nice little scooter for me and bring it back for my birthday celebration. The birthday party happened, no scooter. I could blame my parents, and I did for a long time. Why didn't they give me my scooter when I wanted it? I set it up perfectly for them to give it to me. At age 10, never happened. So I could resent them, which I did for a period of time, until I learned to clear it. So what's going on in your world that you thought should, ought, or must happen that isn't happening, that you're still holding on to? Go to the next page, page 9.
So the facts about value judging, these are really important, because sometimes we don't really take value judging seriously enough, and we don't understand the repercussions of it. So the first thing is Nothing creates lower self-esteem or keeps people stuck more than judgments. These judgments are unconscious. We don't even know that we're making them because our brains have been set up to evaluate.
Number 2, when we criticize or judge, we now condemn ourselves. Each condemnation of others produces condemnation within us. When we judge others, we can condemn ourselves to do the same thing we've judged from them.
So this is a very powerful principle. To stop the cycle of pain in our life, we have to stop judging ourselves and others. We cannot free ourselves from judgment until we free ourselves from our own self-judgment. So if somebody is really doing a lot of judging, you know that they're also judging themselves. We judge others to the degree that we are judging ourselves.
Number 4, there are 2 principles at work. When we get into judging others, we become blinded to our own behavior. We feel perfectly justified. We say things like, well, I'm not judging, I'm just telling the truth.
Number 5, when we get into judgment, we hear what others are saying as being critical of us. We will hear judgment from them even when their motives are pure because we are judging. We receive judgment even when no judgment was really even intended.
Number 6, reaping is not always immediate bitter root seeds like crabgrass. May be under the surface for a long time before they become visible. And the way you know this is all of a sudden they flare up and now they've had a catastrophic response to you and you say, wow, where did that come from? That's unfinished business that's been brewing for a long period of time.
So the ways that we judge.
Number 7.
Number 7. That's what makes it difficult for us to detect the root cause of our bitter judgment. It may go back to our childhood or even another generation. If people in our lives, such as authority figures, even those who loved us and cared for us, focused on what was wrong, they may have established a critical spirit in our lives. And this is really important for our own children so that we look at what we want them to do, give them direction for what we want them to do, not what you see them doing.
So as you look at the bottom, we want you to do some fill-in right now. And what are the ways that you judge other people? What are your ways? You can do it by seeing, hearing, feeling, not hearing, not seeing, not feeling. How many times have you judged somebody because they didn't say what you wanted them to say, when you wanted them to say it, how you wanted it to say it? So make a note now of what are the ways that you judge other people. What would you say as an example, honey, of how you judge? Because these things are so rooted in us that you don't even realize what they are. If you can't write 3 to 5 of these down right now, it's that you're just not thinking enough about it. And if you are at home watching this, make sure that you take note of this. This is an ongoing thing for the rest of your life. Judgment keeps you from the Lord. It keeps you from yourself. It keeps you from your spouse. It keeps you from your children. It keeps you from your community. You destroy judgment and you're opening to new freedom who Christ really made you to be.
So the ways that I judge myself, I'm judging myself all the time. So I'm constantly trying to take control of my thoughts. And when that happens, I instantly ask for forgiveness and and reframe it. So if I say, well, I'm not capable of that or I can't do that, then I would say, I can do that. I can do all things through Christ. And so I will reframe it, and then I will also say, devil, get behind me, because that's the whisper of the devil. Because if we really take on who we are in Christ, there's nothing you can't do. Literally nothing you can't do. And so it's constantly reframing my thoughts and then taking them to the Lord for forgiveness. You have about 3 or 4 minutes before that thought becomes ingrained in your mind. And so take that opportunity and get it out of your head and just reframe it, whatever it takes. You usually do the opposite. Whatever you've just said to yourself, then just do the opposite.
So next is the ways that you judge God. You mean you judge God? Absolutely. God didn't do it the way you wanted it done, when you wanted it done, how you wanted it done, with whom you wanted it done. And so what are the ways that you've been judging God? And just take a note right now, write that down. What are the ways that you're judging God or have judged God that's keeping you from receiving the blessings?
The ways you judge society. So I don't know about you, but I'm judging society a lot right now. And so, and judging other people a lot right now. And so I need to really be reminded of that. And it's a constant battle when I see something on the news, and we really try not to watch the news, or hear something. It's like, it is so against my grain that I instantaneously judge it.
So an idea here that will let you know how much you're progressing in not judging is that you can be around people who have a different belief system than you, still love them, and not necessarily like their behavior or their actions. That is unconditional love. That's TUL. The opposite of value judging is total unconditional love. And then at the bottom, the ways that you judge others who do not believe the way you do. So again, who would that be? Maybe politics right now would be a hot subject for you. Maybe what's going on in the educational system right now could be an issue for you. So again, take a moment and write down what those beliefs are that you're having a hard time judging when they aren't believing what you do. The gospel according to you. See, there's 2 points of view. There's your point of view, there's somebody else's point of view, and there's God's point of view. And you want to be in God's point of view more than either of those other 2 points of view. Then you're going to have real inner peace and real inner freedom. So with this, I'd like to give people an opportunity now to release value judging. So I want to think of a couple. So you're going to listen to what I'm going to share, and whatever couple feels led to come up here to do this, we want to heal a judgment that's within you and your family. So who as a couple has a issue that they would like to release value judging about? And if you would, I'd like you to come forward. Who has an issue that they would like to clear up right now? Let go of, get free of, get past the judgment of. Well, while they're pondering that, let's do one together. So, when you think about how you have been judged by me, how would you say that you have felt judged by me? That hasn't worked for you.
I have to really think. Right at the moment, I don't have anything on the top of my head.
I did good. All right.
Oh, I know.
Oh, shucking. Go ahead, darling.
Well, sometimes when we're maybe trying to work something out, then you might get frustrated with my ideas.
Yes.
And you say, I'm the expert. We're just going to do it my way. So I feel judged by you in that respect, so that you are making me feel like I don't have any value or don't have any knowledge or wisdom. You have it all.
Would you like to, well, first of all, I will work on that. Would you like to know how come I respond that way at times?
Sure.
Have you noticed that you feel very determined about your point of view?
Yes,
and that
sometimes
you think,
I do.
And that sometimes I feel that you're judging my point of view and making your point of view more valuable than my point of view.
That could be. That could be.
And so sometimes I feel that happening. And we have a time issue at times.
Yes, we do.
And so as the president of the organization, I knew I'd get in trouble with that one. So here's a very important thing. There's your relationship, and then in our case, we have a relationship and we work together. If there's any more opportunity for more challenges to take place, it's when both of those are happening. So what I work on, and you can share with them if this is true or not, is to separate our relationship from our roles in our organization.
Yes, you do that.
And
Definitely.
so sometimes we forget that. I forget it at times.
We both forget
You
it.
forget it at times.
We both do,
Because
yes.
we're very convicted in persuading the other person that our point of view is the correct point of view.
Absolutely.
However, when time is an issue, I will make the relationship an important aspect. At the same time, can you respect that if I'm making the final decision, somebody's got to make that decision. Since we've agreed that I'm going to be the president of the organization, I will make that final decision. However, I will do it also by asking your point of view as well.
So do I do that? Once you make a decision, do I?
Most of the time you do respect that. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I appreciate that. And I'm working on hearing your ideas more fully instead of just saying, let's move on.
Yes, and I've noticed that. You've come a long way,
Thank you.
and I appreciate that.
Thank you. All right.